It's the most unusual performers that captivate audiences with their extraordinary talents. From bearded ladies and snake charmers to sword swallowers and fire eaters, the circus has always been a place of wonder and amazement. But did you know that there were once performers who went beyond the usual oddities and exhibited truly bizarre abilities? That's right. There were individuals who possessed physical anomalies that defied all explanation. Imagine a woman with a third arm growing out of her chest, or a man with two sets of fully formed legs. It may sound like something out of a science fiction novel, but these performers were very real. So are you ready to be amazed? Gear up to take a closer look at some of the 15 circus freaks that actually existed. Number 15. Ella Harper, the Camel Girl. You won't believe the story of Ella Harper, aka the Camel Girl. This girl was a straight-up circus legend back in the 1880s, and her talent was seriously freaky. You see, Ella had a rare condition that made her knees bend backward like a camel's, so she could walk on all fours like an actual animal. Crazy, right? Anyway, Ella quickly became one of the biggest draws of the WWH Harris Nickel Plate Circus, raking in around $200 a week, which was a ton of cash back then. But here's the kicker. Despite all the fame and fortune, Ella had bigger dreams. She wanted to leave the circus and get an education, which was pretty unheard of for a woman in the late 1800s. So, she started passing out cards during her performances that said things like, "I'm the Camel Girl, but I'm not just a freak show attraction. I plan to leave the circus and fit myself for another occupation." Talk about a boss move. Am I right? And you know what? Ella actually followed through on her plan. In 1888, she retired from the circus and enrolled in school, studying literature, writing, and math. She eventually got married and had kids, living a quiet and relatively low-key life until her death in 1921. But even after all these years, Ella's legacy lives on. Her story is seriously inspiring, showing that even in a time when women were expected to just be circus freaks or homemakers, she had the guts to dream bigger and do something about it. Number 14. Eli Bowen, the Legless Wonder. Picture this. You're born with a genetic condition that results in seal-like limbs. Translation, you have feet but no legs. Now imagine turning that supposed disability into a thriving career in the freak shows. Well, that's exactly what Eli Bowen did. Born in Richland County, Ohio, Eli's undeveloped feet were attached to his hips, making him a rare case of phocomelia. But that didn't stop him. He learned to walk on his hands using wooden blocks and soon began experimenting with acrobatics. At just 13 years old, he joined the traveling circus group Major Brown's Coliseum and began performing acrobatic tumbling such as cartwheels, somersaults, and backflips. Despite his deformity, Eli was known for being an incredible acrobat and strongman. His skills undoubtedly contributed to his success in the freak shows where he earned a pretty penny. But Eli's story goes beyond the circus scene. He got married and had 4 normal children who brought him immense pride. Eli lived to be close to 80 years old, proving that even with a rare genetic condition, he was able to lead a fulfilling life. In 1880, a pamphlet titled The Wonder of the Wide, Wide World, The True History of Mr. Eli Bowen was published, retelling a brief history of his life. It's clear that Eli Bowen's story is one of resilience and determination in the face of adversity. Despite his physical limitations, he was able to carve out a successful career and build a fulfilling life for himself and his family. Eli Bowen reminds us that anything is possible if you have the courage and perseverance to pursue your dreams. Number 13. Betty Lou Williams, Parasitic Twin. Hold on to your hats, folks, because we've got a wild one for you. Meet Betty Lou Williams, a girl born with a parasitic twin attached to her side. That's right, we're talking 2 legs, 1 tiny arm-like appendage, and a more developed arm with 3 fingers, all nestled deep within her abdomen. But Betty Lou wasn't about to let her unusual condition hold her back. Oh no, she joined the circus and became a star in the freak show, raking in a staggering $1,000 a week. And what did she do with all that cash? Well, she bought her parents a 260-acre farm and sent all her siblings to college. Now that's what we call generosity. But it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows for Betty Lou. Despite her success, she still faced heartbreak and betrayal. she fell for a charming suitor who turned out to be nothing but a thieving scoundrel. He took off with a big chunk of her hard-earned money and left her reeling. And if that wasn't enough, tragedy struck when Betty Lou suffered a severe asthma attack at the young age of 23. She suffocated to death, leaving behind a legacy of courage, resilience, and generosity. Life is full of twists and turns, and sometimes the most unexpected things can bring us success and joy. Number 12. Edouard Beaupré Giant. In the early 1900s, long before Andre the Giant, there was a man named Edouard Beaupré who roamed the world as a true giant. Born in Saskatchewan, Canada, Edouard grew to an astonishing height of over 8 feet tall by the time he was in his early 20s. But he wasn't just a spectacle to be gawked at. He was a strong man unlike any other. At the age of 17, Edouard abandoned life on the ranch and began touring, showing off his incredible strength by bending iron bars and lifting horses onto his shoulders. He traveled from Winnipeg to Montreal and even spent some time in California. In Montreal, he even wrestled against the famous French-Canadian strongman Louis Cyr, although he lost the match. But Edouard's life came to a sudden and tragic end when he died of a pulmonary hemorrhage at the young age of 23. His body was found in a forgotten hangar at Bellerive Park, across from Dufresne Street, by children who were playing. His massive size made him a spectacle even in death, and his body was transported to the anatomy department for a fee of $25. But Edouard's story doesn't end there. His body was mummified by a skilled doctor and put on display in a glass shrine, where he could finally rest in peace away from the curious onlookers who had followed him throughout his life. 11. Susie, the Elephant Girl. Susie was known as the Elephant Girl, but it wasn't by choice. Her condition, ichthyosis, caused her skin to thicken, turn gray, and crack in a way that resembled the rough hide of an elephant. Growing up, Susie endured both physical and emotional pain as her peers ridiculed and segregated her due to her appearance. But Susie didn't let her condition hold her back. In fact, it was what allowed her to become a successful performer in the 1920s freak show circuit. Despite being shy and uncomfortable with exhibiting herself, Susie's unique appearance drew crowds and made her a lot of money. She even worked for the Ringling Brothers, the height of the profession at the time. Susie's success wasn't without sacrifice, however. She left her home in Germany and emigrated to the United States with her manager to escape the oncoming war. In New York City, she exhibited herself at Hubert's Museum and Coney Island, enduring both admiration and ridicule from spectators. But through it all, Susie remained stoic. She couldn't even shed a tear when other children pointed and laughed at her inability to sweat and her need to rub ice over her arms to cool down during hot summer days. Susie may have been known as the Elephant Girl, but she was so much more than her appearance. Number 10. Prince Randian, Worm Man. He may have been born without limbs, but Prince Randian was far from helpless. With only his nubs for arms and almost non-existent legs, he became a sideshow sensation, wowing audiences with his incredible ability to perform tricks using only his mouth. Dressed in a red and white striped suit that made him look more like a caterpillar than a man, Randian quickly gained fame in the 1800s and performed for over 45 years. His act earned him a slew of nicknames, including the Snake Man, the Human Torso, the Human Worm, and the Human Caterpillar. But Randian was more than just a sideshow act. He was an incredibly intelligent man who could speak several languages and was capable of performing everyday tasks like shaving and writing. His ability to roll and smoke cigarettes with his lips even got him a role in the 1932 film, Freaks. How cool is that? Despite his abnormal appearance, Randian lived a surprisingly normal life, marrying his wife, Princess Sarah, and fathering 4 children. But tragically, just hours after giving his final performance, Randian died of a heart attack at the age of 63. Despite his short stature, Randian's legacy lives on as a testament to the incredible human spirit and the power of determination. Number 9. Miran Dejo, the Invulnerable Man. Have you ever met someone who could stick a sword straight through their body without a single drop of blood? Meet Miran Dejo, the Dutch daredevil who made a living by swallowing glass and razor blades and letting people pierce his body with objects. Yes, you heard that right. It's safe to say that Mirren was not your average bar patron. His fearless and seemingly invincible nature soon caught the attention of freak shows and audiences around the world. During each performance, he would calmly shove a real sword through his abdomen and walk around the stage, completely unfazed by the blade sticking out of him. But his audiences were not so composed. Men and women alike passed out during his act, and one audience member even suffered a heart attack. Eventually, Swiss officials revoked the performance license, but that didn't stop professionals from taking an interest. In front of a group of doctors and cameras, Mirren's partner de Groot stabbed him with a 28-inch sword. Mirren's apparent invincibility had piqued their curiosity. But in 1948, Mirren swallowed a 35 cm metal splinter in what would be his final act. He believed it would somehow dematerialize inside him before a surgeon removed it. But instead it caused severe internal bleeding, and Mirren slipped into a trance from which he would never awaken. Despite his tragic end, footage of Mirren's feats continues to astound audiences to this day. Mirren Deja was undoubtedly one of the most daring and unforgettable performers of his time, but let's leave the sword swallowing to the professionals, shall we? Number 8. Grady Stiles, Lobster Boy. For over a century, the Stiles family has been plagued by a rare genetic condition known as ectrodactyly, which causes their hands and feet to resemble lobster claws. But instead of being viewed as a handicap, the Stiles family saw it as an opportunity to make a living in the carnival circuit. Grady Stiles Jr., known as Lobster Boy, was born into this world of freak shows and carnival acts. His father, Grady Stiles Sr., was already an attraction in the circuit and added his children, who had the same condition, to the act. By the age of 7, Grady Jr. was performing alongside his father and siblings. Despite his severe case of ectrodactyly, which affected his hands and feet, Grady Jr. developed impressive upper body strength and learned to pull himself across the floor without a wheelchair. His family's act, the Lobster Family, was a huge hit, earning them between $50,000 to $80,000 per season. Cha-ching! But life on the carnival circuit was not without its hardships. Grady Sr. also had a turbulent personal life and married twice, both times to fellow carnival workers. Despite the challenges, the Lobster Family continued to perform until tragedy struck. In 1992, Grady Jr. was shot in his sleep by his son-in-law, who was convicted of third-degree murder. The story of the Stiles family is both fascinating and tragic. Their genetic condition may have made them a spectacle in the carnival circuit, but it also provided them with a means of making a living. But behind the scenes, they were just a family struggling with the same problems as everyone else. Number 7. Willie and George Muse, the Men from Mars. In the early 1900s, two brothers from a small Virginia town became the talk of the town when they were discovered to have albinism, a rare condition that made their skin exceptionally light and vulnerable to the sun. George and Willie Muse, with their musical talents and unique appearance, quickly caught the attention of a circus promoter named James Shelton. While it's unclear how they came to Shelton's attention, some stories suggest that the brothers willingly performed for him before being taken on a wild ride across the country, away from their mother, performing as Eco and Eco, the ambassadors from Mars. With their banjo, saxophone, and ukulele, the brothers quickly became crowd favorites, wowing audiences with their musical prowess. Despite their success, their mother never stopped looking for them. With the help of sympathetic lawyers and reporters, she fought tirelessly to bring her boys home. And after years of legal battles, they were finally reunited. George and Willie's story is a testament to the power of perseverance and the unbreakable bond between a mother and her children. Despite the trials they faced, the brothers lived long and fulfilling lives, continuing to perform and entertain audiences well into their golden years. Number 6. Chang and Eng, Siamese twins. Step right up, ladies and gentlemen, and witness the incredible tale of Chang and Eng Bunker, the most famous Siamese twins of all time. Born in 1811 in Thailand, these brothers were brought to America by a British merchant to be displayed in freak shows. And boy, did they become a sensation. With their unique physique and incredible athleticism, Chang and Eng quickly captured the hearts and imaginations of audiences across America and Europe. But these brothers were more than just performers. After retiring from the circuit, they settled down in North Carolina, becoming wealthy landowners who even owned slaves. And get this, they each got married and had children, with a total of 21 offspring between the two of them. Phew, their lives were certainly full of twists and turns. After losing much of their wealth and slaves during the Civil War, Chang and Eng continued to tour with their families in tow. But tragedy struck when they passed away within hours of each other, revealing the shocking discovery that their livers were fused together. Despite the legends and hyperbole surrounding their lives, Chang and Eng Bunker were true pioneers who blazed a trail for others like them. So come one, come all, and be amazed by the incredible story of Chang and Eng Bunker, the Siamese twins who captured the world's attention and left an indelible mark on history. Number 5. Robert Huddleston, the Pony Boy. Meet Robert Huddleston, also known as the Pony Boy. He was a circus performer who cruised around everywhere on all fours because of his back knee deformity. But don't let his affliction fool you. This guy was an absolute powerhouse. Before he became a circus performer, Huddleston worked as a logging teamster, hauling trees and lumber for 15 miles a day while affixed to a wagon. He protected his hands with wooden blocks and leather, and his arm and shoulder strength became the stuff of legend among his peers. He even worked as a blacksmith and carpenter during World War II. After the war, Huddleston decided to showcase his physical uniqueness with a small carnival in Texas. It was a hit, and he eventually toured all of North America with the Tom Mix Circus. His act consisted of displays of strength and unique flexibility. He could even throw his right leg over his shoulder like a bale of wood. Huddleston spent 36 years displaying his exceptionality for profit before retiring in Fremont. But he never stopped being active. He restored automobiles and raised rabbits until he passed away in 1970. It's amazing how Huddleston never let his deformity slow him down. He lived his life to the fullest, and his exceptional work ethic and mechanical inclination made him a true inspiration. So next time you think you can't do something, just remember Robert Huddleston, the Pony Boy who never let anything stand in his way, not even his all fours. Number 4. The Penguin Girl. Born in the early 1900s, Mignon was diagnosed with phocomelia, a condition that stunts limb growth and fuses digits together. In Mignon's case, her fingers were fused to form flippers, forcing her to waddle like a penguin. Hence, her stage name was born. But Mignon was more than just her unique physique. She was a talented musician, playing the exotic marimba, a xylophone-like instrument from Africa. Her act was so impressive that it was showcased at the 1933 Century of Progress Exposition in Chicago and the 1939 and 1940 World's Fairs in New York. Mignon's name wasn't always Mignon. Her given name was Ruth. However, she decided to adopt the French word for cute as her stage name, and it stuck. She even went by Mickey Mignon for a while. Mignon's fame didn't just come from her appearance, as she was a hard-working performer who strived to entertain her audience. Mignon married twice, and with her first husband, a normal man named L'Argot, she had a healthy son. Later on, she married fellow sideshow performer Earl Davis, also known as Hoppy the Frog Boy, a gnarled and crippled former acrobat. Together, they performed for almost 10 years. After retiring in the 1960s, Mignon disappeared from the public eye, and the final chapters of her story are a mystery. But one thing is for sure. Mignon was a remarkable individual who overcame physical challenges to become a talented performer and a beloved sideshow star. Number 3. Alice Elizabeth Doherty, the Minnesota Woolly Girl. Meet Alice Elizabeth Doherty, the one and only Minnesota Woolly Girl. Born with a rare and mysterious condition known as hypertrichosis lanuginosa, Alice was gifted with a mane of silky blonde hair from the moment she came into the world in Minneapolis. Despite her parents' confusion and bewilderment, little Alice quickly became a sensation, captivating audiences with her unique appearance and playful spirit. By the tender age of 2, she was already being exhibited as a sideshow attraction, and soon her fame spread far and wide as she embarked on tours of the Midwest. As she grew older, Alice's hair continued to grow as well, reaching lengths of up to 9 inches by her early teens. But she never lost her sense of wonder and curiosity, and admirers across the country marveled at her frolicsome nature and miraculous presence. Eventually, Alice chose to retire in Dallas at the age of 28, where she lived out the rest of her days in comfort and peace. Though her exact cause of death remains unknown, her legacy lives on, and she is buried at the Calvary Hill Cemetery and Mausoleum in Dallas. Alice Elizabeth Doherty, the Minnesota Woolly Girl, captured the hearts and imaginations of a nation. Number 2. Frank Lentini, the Three-Legged Man. Francesco Frank Lentini was no ordinary man. Born in 1889 in Sicily, Italy, he came into this world with not one, not two, but 3 legs, 4 feet, and 16 fingers. And if that wasn't enough, he also had 2 sets of genitals. Talk about being born unique. As a child, Lentini was dubbed the Marvel in Corsican, but sadly, some cruel locals referred to him as a little monster. His family sent him away to live with an aunt to protect him from further ridicule. But fate had a different plan for Lentini. In 1898, at the tender age of 9, he and his father embarked on a journey to America, where they met a showman named Giuseppe Magnano. The rest, as they say, is history. Lentini quickly became a top attraction in the Ringling Brothers Circus and was billed as the Three-Legged Sicilian, the only three-legged football player in the world, and the greatest medical wonder of all time. With his 3rd leg, Lentini could do incredible things like kick a soccer ball, jump over a rope, skate, and ride a bicycle. But he wasn't just a freak of nature. Lentini was quick-witted and funny, too. During interviews, he used his extra limb as a stool to lean on while answering questions about his life, loves, and the challenges of buying shoes. And let's just say his answers were hilarious and unforgettable. Despite his deformity, Lentini was proud and confident. He learned to speak English and even fell in love with a young actress named Teresa Murray. The two got hitched in 1907 and went on to have 4 children together. Lentini was a true showman, performing in sideshows with the Ringling Brothers Circus and Buffalo Bill's Wild West show until his death at the age of 77. He never stopped touring, never stopped entertaining, and never stopped inspiring others to embrace their uniqueness. Lentini was a true legend, and his legacy lives on today. Number 1. Felix Werrell, the Elastic Man. Witness the unbelievable talent of Felix Werrell, also known as the Elastic Man. Born with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, Felix possessed an extraordinary ability to stretch out his skin and bend his fingers backwards and forwards like no one else. Felix's unique condition led him to become a star performer in the Barnum and Bailey Circus, where he dazzled audiences with his incredible elasticity. But his talent wasn't just limited to the circus ring. It could come in handy in everyday situations too, like freaking out your friends at the bar or the grocery store. But let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Were circuses like Barnum and Bailey exploiting people like Felix for profit? Or were they providing a much-needed opportunity for individuals with unique talents to earn a living? Regardless of where you stand on the issue, there's no denying that Felix's incredible elasticity was a rare gift that allowed him to make a name for himself and provide for his family in a way that he may not have been able to otherwise. So come one, come all, and witness the unbelievable talent of the Elastic Man, a true marvel of human ability and a testament to the power of perseverance and determination.